Hi, I'm John Moravec. I'm an education futurist, and I'm pleased to share this work with my co-author, Maria Cristina Martinez Bravo. Together, we wrote a paper called Global Trends in Disruptive Technological Change, Social and Policy Implications for Education, and this was published in On the Horizon. The purpose of the study was to identify global trends in disruptive technological change, and we worked to map their social and policy implications. We focused on the educational ecosystem and the stakeholders at every level. And so for me, this went a little bit beyond being just an academic exercise, because education is being pulled in so many directions by politics, economics, and technology. And too often within education, at all levels, we are forced to respond reactively. So we wanted to explore how education can do more than just try to hold steady and try to stay afloat during turbulent times. How can it evolve in ways that strengthen equity and resilience, for example? How can it help people thrive in uncertain futures? So we constructed a two-stage meta-analysis. We looked at 1,155 peer-reviewed articles that were published between January 2020 and June 2022. So that's an 18-month window. And this first stage was a systematized literature review that was set under clear criteria for selection. And the second was a network analysis that mapped connections across literature. This combination gave us both breadth and depth. So we had the breadth to capture the full landscape of disruptive change to the best that we could. And we also had the depth to uncover patterns that may not be quite so obvious at first glance. Now, with this study, we identified 5 global trends shaping education today. First, and this is, I think, impacting everybody, especially today, we have the acceleration of artificial intelligence and the use of data. The second is new contexts of reality, such as augmented and virtual reality. Third is that we had industrial transformations driven by the so-called Industry 4.0. Fourth, we have the decentralization of networks through blockchain and distributed systems. And fifth, we have the rise of mobile information systems that enable learning anytime and anywhere. And we don't like to think of these trends as being necessarily separate. Rather, they interact and amplify each other, and they create opportunities and risks that education cannot ignore. So from this body of research, we really identified 4 clusters of implications, and also some transversal aspects as well. So we've got national systems must adapt to global reality, where infrastructure risks and opportunities cross borders. Institutions face the challenge of real digital transformation, and this means moving beyond simple digitalization to rethinking processes and cultures. We've got that organizations must clarify their purpose and mindset that can be supported by leadership that is both pragmatic and visionary, and ecosystems of teachers, families, students, interested communities must learn how to navigate this disruption together. And this is something I think that the pandemic made very clear when everybody was suddenly stranded having to grasp on new technologies and new directions. So across all these clusters, we found 5 transversal concerns that we cannot overlook as well, right? So we've got ethics, how we're using these technologies, sustainability, resilience, cybersecurity, and law and policy. And weakness in any of one of these areas can undermine trust, but if we can be strong across all 5, they help us build structural resilience. And we then outlined 4 basic scenarios for how we can think about our policy planning. One is to just simply miss the boat, right? Watching the world go around us and, hey, we're education, we're going to do our own thing. The second is to arrive late, right? Where we try to catch up with society. Third is to arrive on time, maybe working in concert with other elements or aspects of society to go with the flow. Or the fourth, which is more daring, is to arrive early, be a bit preactive. And these are just tools for thinking about the future. And they remind us that while we cannot choose our future with certainty, we can prepare for different possibilities. And those who anticipate change and arrive early tend to be best positioned to build resilient systems. Now, our study concludes with 9 recommendations, right? They ask us to rethink education's role. What are we educating for? For whose benefit? Connect Industry 4.0 with actual curricula. Adopt a long-term lens. Audit and align resources. Develop leadership fit for the 21st century. Cultivate growth mindsets across systems. Adopt disruptive technologies for social innovation. Set principled limits. and always frame technology within the broader goals of development and social transformation. Like, we need to have a goal for all this. So these recommendations aren't a checklist. They help us form a framework for thinking about how innovation can be purposeful, ethical, and inclusive. So when we finished the study, our article review window closed in June 2022, and this was just before the explosive rise of generative AI, such as ChatGPT, image generators. And I think if you look at literature being produced today, it's just capturing onto the impacts of these now, because there's a little gap or lag in publishing. So at first glance, it might seem that we missed this window of critical development, but I'd like to think that the opposite is true, because the rapid rise of generative AI only makes recommendations more urgent. AI forces us to reconsider the purpose of assessment when machines can generate essays. It demands alignment with Industry 4.0 as employers expect graduates to use these tools responsibly and already have mastery of them. It exposes the need for long-term strategies that are not driven by hype cycles. It highlights the cost of infrastructure, training, and governance, and requires leadership that can balance efficiency created by these systems with ethics. It asks teachers to adapt, reframe assignments, and work with AI rather than fighting technology, and requires principled limits that really address the bias, privacy concerns, and control concerns. But I think most importantly, it reminds us to reframe technology within social development. We must ask not what AI can do, but what kind of society and education futures we want it to build and help serve. So you can ask, all right, so why does this matter? Because education is responsible for shaping our futures, not just surviving in them. Our study provides a structured way to think about technological change. And it's not just something that we should be embracing blindly, but rather as a force that we can participate in guiding as well. And the impact of this work lies in its ability to reframe conversations. Already, it's informed dialogues on digital governance, curriculum renewal, and the future of educational leadership. It's being used to anchor foresight workshops and scenario planning in ministries and in institutions to see the need for moving beyond reactive policy making, right? What new things can we create? And I do see the questions we raised are becoming harder to avoid. We have issues of resilience, digital governance, and social purpose are now front and center. And our framework offers a language and set of tools that others can adapt to these debates. So for me, this is, we're kind of up to make a real change or some real impact, right? We're not just prescribing a simple solution like, gosh, this is what we should be doing, but rather helping provide a way of thinking that helps others act with foresight and maybe with a little extra courage, a little backing academically to make the changes they want real. So my hope is that this work contributes to a larger movement, a movement that treats education not as a system that is defended to remain stagnant at all costs, but something that's more of a living practice that can adapt, question itself, and evolve. Education under threat cannot be the end of the story, right? It can be the beginning of a new chapter, maybe. Towards something helping us building that's more just, more relevant, and more resilient, but only if we choose to innovate with purpose and place humanity at the center. So this research is just one step in that journey, right? It points to the choices we now face, and we can wait for disruption to overtake us, or we can shape our response with foresight, integrity, and courage. So I thank you for engaging with our work, and I hope it sparks reflection, dialogue, and action.